At my first trial they pronounced, "She will fight but she will fall, as all dreamers must." I thanked them for their blessing. Generations later, when their bloodlines wandered through ruins, nameless and lost, it was my voice that echoed in the courts, the libraries, the very stones of civilizations rebuilt bearing no scars of their scorn, only the immortal seal of my persistence. I was 23 and I still believed in fairness. I thought if you told the truth, if you worked hard and played by the rules, you'd be okay. I really believed that. I was wrong. Back then I was in my 3rd year at Arkansas Law in Little Rock. It wasn't Harvard, but for a girl raised in a rusted-out trailer outside Pine Bluff, it was more than I ever thought I'd have. My parents were gone, drugs in prison, and my grandma raised me until she died when I was 17. I put myself through college waitressing and doing night shifts at a gas station. Law school was my ticket out. I wanted to help people who didn't have voices. People like me. I wanted to be the kind of lawyer that actually gave a damn. Then I met Professor Granger. Granger was one of those celebrated legal minds, with tenure and connections. He wrote columns in state papers, got invited to national panels. Everyone respected him. But inside the classroom, he was a predator. Subtle with it, but not that subtle. He'd corner girls after class, comment on their looks, brush their arms too long. With me it escalated fast. It started with, "You've got great instincts." Then shifted to, "You'd go far with someone like me backing you." Then came the text. One night after I rejected him, he sent, "You'll regret turning down your best shot." I didn't delete anything. I saved it all. I went to the administration. I followed the process. Gave them screenshots, copies of emails, even another student who backed me up. They turned it against me. The dean said I was misinterpreting his mentorship. A woman on the board told me, "You're young. You don't want to destroy your future over a misunderstanding." They made it formal. Held a hearing. It felt fake from the start. No lawyer, no support. Just me sitting at a long wooden table while a row of faculty looked at me like I'd spit on their shoes. Then that old man board chair Millard leaned forward. He looked right at me, smiled like he was talking to a confused child, and said, "She will fight but she will fall, as all dreamers must." I didn't react. I didn't give them that. They expelled me for defamation and disruption of the educational environment. Just like that, 3 years of hard work and debt were burned to ash. I moved to St. Louis with nothing but a backpack, a laptop, and $130 in my account. Slept in my car for 2 weeks until I found a job at a 24-hour diner. Did every gig I could. I cleaned houses, walked dogs, took night security shifts. I was exhausted and bitter, but I wasn't done. I still studied. I printed legal textbooks at the library. Watched depositions on YouTube like they were crime shows. I obsessed. Then I met Ron. He was 57, once a brilliant defense lawyer. Disbarred after pissing off the wrong judge during a whistleblower case. He worked in the basement of a warehouse now, fixing contracts for small businesses under the table. He took me in, trained me. He said I reminded him of himself when he still believed in the law. I worked with Ron during the day, did my jobs at night. I started writing anonymously about corruption in higher education. I researched every case I could find where schools covered up abuse. My blog picked up traction. Then I wrote an exposé about a Title IX cover-up at a different Arkansas university. It went viral. I got hired under a pen name by a nonprofit outlet that investigated academic misconduct. That's when things started to turn. 3 years after my expulsion, I got an email from a student at my old school. A freshman. She had filed a complaint against Granger. No one helped her. She was scared. Alone. Sounded just like I had. She sent me proof emails, screenshots. But more than that, she had a friend who worked in the admissions office. That friend sent her a file, a mistake, maybe. A dump of emails, reports, and memos about Granger. It was gold. Turns out they'd been protecting him for years. Paying off students. Deleting records. Even making secret deals with donors to avoid investigations. The whole board was in on it, including Millard. I worked for 2 months day and night. Cross-checking names. Verifying documents. I made it airtight. Then I dropped it. Not a blog post. A full piece in a national outlet, under my real name. The story hit like a hammer. After the story dropped, chaos hit fast. Within 48 hours, the university shut down all public-facing social media accounts. A student walkout was covered by 3 local stations. National reporters started circling. Granger took a leave of absence, which everyone knew was code for, "We're trying to figure out how to save face." I didn't stop there. I went on every podcast, radio show, and live stream that would have me. I told the whole story start to finish. Named names. Quoted Millard word for word. "She will fight but she will fall as all dreamers must." I said it like a curse because that's what it was. They tried damage control. Said I was disgruntled. That my expulsion had been fully justified. That they supported victims. All the usual garbage. But the public didn't buy it this time. Especially not when 2 more former students, both women, came forward within the week. They had proof. Granger had offered them grades in exchange for favors. One had a voicemail. It was disgusting. Then came the faculty emails. Someone leaked internal memos from the dean's office. Turns out, the school knew they had a problem for years. They had even kept a list of sensitive students they tracked after incidents. They were keeping files on survivors, monitoring them. That's when it exploded. Millard resigned. Quietly. But I made sure his resignation letter leaked. It was pathetic, all decades of service, and painful misunderstandings. Never said a word about the students he let suffer. Granger was arrested 2 weeks later. Charged with multiple counts of misconduct, coercion, and obstruction. His mugshot hit every news site in the region. I should have felt relief. But I didn't. Not yet. Because the people who really wrecked my life, the ones in power, the ones who silenced me, erased me, they were still walking free. Still working at other colleges. Sitting on boards. Getting praise for their lifetime achievements. I wanted more. So I went after the donors. Universities don't run on truth. They run on money. I tracked down every company that had donated over $10,000 to Arkansas law in the last decade. I sent each one a copy of my article, a breakdown of what their money helped cover up, and a list of every woman who had contacted me since the article went live. I told them if they kept donating, I'd name them. I wasn't bluffing. 2 major firms cut ties within a week. One local bank asked for their name to be removed from the campus library. That hurt the school bad. More than anything else had. Then came the email from a young woman, a paralegal at the law firm where Millard had once been a senior partner. She told me he was trying to get reinstated on a city development board. She forwarded me a draft of his application letter. I leaked that too. But here's the twist I didn't expect. Someone tried to silence me again. I got an envelope at my apartment one night. No return address. Inside was a USB drive, a typed note, and a picture of me walking home from 3 nights earlier. The note said, "You've made your point. Walk away. Last warning." The USB had screenshots of my old juvenile record stuff sealed by the court. Stuff no one should have had access to. Fights I got into at 16. A shoplifting charge from when I stole food after my grandma died. They were going to smear me. I sat there on my floor, holding that photo, thinking maybe they were right. Maybe I had done enough. Maybe it was time to move on. But then I remembered that girl, the freshman, who first reached out to me. She told me Granger threatened to fail her if she didn't meet him for dinner. She cried on the phone. Said she didn't know if anyone would believe her. And I thought of the others. Not just at my school. All over. No. I wasn't done yet. I went public with the threat. I posted the photo. The note. Everything. Then I wrote one sentence. "You think I'll fall? Watch me." The post went viral. Support poured in. Even people who didn't know me stood up. Legal clinics offered help. Civil rights groups reached out. A senator's office contacted me privately. Said I was brave. I wasn't trying to be brave. I was trying to make sure no girl ever sat alone at a hearing again, listening to some old man smile as he destroyed her life. The threats didn't stop after that first photo. They got worse. One morning I stepped out of my apartment, and my tires were slashed. All 4 of them. A note was tucked under the windshield wiper. Same plain paper, same typed font. "You're not untouchable." I went to the cops. They shrugged. Said it was probably just a prank. They didn't file a report. Didn't even write anything down. I knew exactly what that meant. They weren't going to help me. That night I bought a new lock for my door, pepper spray, and a second phone just for emergencies. I didn't tell anyone. I trusted no one now. I moved apartments within the week. A studio above a bodega where the owner, Sal, knew me by name and kept a bat behind the counter. He said, "Anybody gives you trouble, you let me know." That meant more to me than anything the cops ever offered. But even hiding didn't slow me down. I kept working, kept digging. That's when I found something I wasn't expecting. One of the fired faculty members, a woman named Elise Banner, emailed me late one night. She had been the only person in that original hearing who didn't speak against me. I remembered her face. She looked uncomfortable the whole time. Elise said she had something I needed to see. We met in a quiet diner just outside St. Louis. She was nervous, hands shaking. She pushed a manila envelope across the table. Inside were internal transcripts from that original disciplinary hearing. Not the public version, the real one. Turns out, Millard had personally removed my key witness's statement. It was written right there in a margin note. Exclude student A's claim too inflammatory. He had doctored the record. Even worse, he had done it before. Elise showed me 3 other cases where student complaints were cleaned up before the board voted. I sat there in that booth staring at the truth. I wasn't just tossed out because I made noise. I was tossed out because Millard was scared people would start listening. Elise wasn't done. She slid me a second file, one I almost couldn't believe. It was a letter from Millard's son. His son Aaron had died by suicide 8 years ago. He'd been a student at Arkansas Law. Quiet, brilliant, kept to himself. No one really talked about him. But this letter, handwritten, dated 2 weeks before his death, said everything. Aaron had been harassed by a faculty member. Not Granger. Someone else. He went to Millard, his own father, begging for help. The letter said, word for word, "If I can't get justice, then what's the point of anything?" Millard buried it. Didn't report it. Didn't speak of it. Just erased his own son's pain to keep the school's reputation clean. I read it 3 times. Then I folded it back up and said to Elise, he covered up his own son's cry for help. He'd do anything to keep his power. She nodded. I didn't go public with the letter. Not yet. I used it. I sent a copy with no identifying info to a contact at a state ethics committee. They opened a quiet investigation. I knew it wouldn't move fast, but that wasn't the point. I wanted Millard to know I had it, that I could bury him anytime I wanted. So I mailed him a note. Same paper, same font. 1 sentence. "You should have protected your son." I protect them all. 2 months passed. During that time, more students came forward. The board was dissolved. The university lost accreditation for its law program. They announced a total restructure, which is code for clean house before lawsuits hit. I wasn't just a story anymore. I was a problem they couldn't fix. That's when I got invited to speak at a legal reform panel in D.C. That's when I found myself sitting next to senators, journalists, and people who never would have glanced at me 5 years ago. One of them leaned over during a break and whispered, "They tried to break you. Instead, you're breaking the system." I didn't answer, because I wasn't finished. The panel in D.C. was the last step before I pulled the final string. After it aired, I got an email. Official letterhead. It was from the university that expelled me. They were re-evaluating past disciplinary actions in light of recent events. They wanted to formally apologize and offer an honorary degree for my work in justice reform. I stared at the email for a long time. I didn't know whether to laugh or throw my laptop across the room. I never replied. I had something else planned. 2 weeks later, I returned to Arkansas. Not quietly. I rented out the town hall near campus and invited every reporter I could think of. Sent personal invites to victims, alumni, even current law students. I paid for security, microphones, chairs, the whole thing. Then I stood in front of the crowd and told my story, the uncut version. I named every name, showed every document. I played the voicemail from one of the girls who had come forward. Read Aaron Millard's letter out loud. You could hear people crying in the back. Then I did the one thing they couldn't bury. I announced the launch of the Dreamers Defense Fund, a nonprofit legal aid group for students wronged by their schools. We had funding from 2 national law firms, private donors, and a few tech CEOs who had survived similar abuse when they were young and silenced. Every student who had ever been ignored, brushed aside, or destroyed for speaking up, we were coming for justice. And we had names. Millard never recovered. The ethics committee ruled that he had committed professional misconduct. He was stripped of all remaining titles. His name was removed from the city's courthouse dedication wall. The firm he once helped found released a statement condemning him. He vanished from public view. Last I heard, he lived in a cabin outside Hot Springs, barely leaving the property. Someone told me he drinks now. A lot. I never once said his name again in public. I didn't need to. As for Granger, he took a plea deal. Admitted to 5 counts of misconduct. He was sentenced to 5 years, served 3. He's a registered offender now. Can't teach. Can't mentor. Can't step foot near a university again. But that wasn't enough for me. Every time he applies for a job, I make sure the hiring manager gets a file with everything he did. I don't even have to say a word. My name alone does the work now. He lives under the shadow of what he did. And I make sure that shadow never leaves him. Now let's talk about me. I did everything I said I would. But I paid a price. I lost friends along the way. Pushed people out who tried to help. I got so focused on revenge, on making sure they hurt like I did, that I forgot how to rest. Forgot how to breathe. Sometimes I think I became what they said I was: angry, obsessed, dangerous. Not because they were right, but because I stopped caring what it cost me to win. So yeah, maybe I made mistakes, but I'll never regret 1 second of it. Because when I walk through that campus now, the one that threw me out, the one that tried to erase me, I see students reading books with my name on the spine. I see classrooms named after donors who left because of what I exposed. I see law students who speak up now without fear, because they know someone will fight for them. And I see professors who flinch when they hear my name whispered down the hall. They said I would fall. But I stood. I stood until their towers cracked, until their legacies crumbled, until their names turned to dust and mine turned to stone. I carry no scars now, only echoes, and they sound a lot like justice.